What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wrestling with Purpose. It's me, Danny. We got Mitch and the incredible Austin Aries. Mitch?
Yes, Danny, I gotta do the intros, man.
Dude, you tell me to do the intros the minute we start doing the things. I told you about this last time. You literally say, hey, do you want to do the intro right before we start? And then I'm like, I don't know. This is my first intro.
Off to a hot start here, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wrestling with Purpose. This is episode 11.
Yeah.
This is episode 11. Right. We're honored to be here. We have a returning guest, of course. He was on our most viewed episode ever. So far, he's back. He is the former TNA World Champion, the former Ring of Honor World Champion, currently with MLW and traveling the entire universe doing professional wrestling. Of course, he is a author. He is a fruitivore. He'll get more into that. Welcome to the show, Austin Aries.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me back.
See, this is why you should do the intros. Why do you
That's a great intro. Yeah.
Come
Love
on.
it.
Incredible.
Well, man, it's great to have you back on the podcast. Man, we had a great episode. Yeah, thank you, man. It's been like 8 or 9 months since we've had you on the podcast.
Has it really been that long? Wow, man. I feel like there's something they opened up some wormhole or something, and time is moving faster than it should be, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Would we really know? Would we really know if they sped up the second? Right? Like if they just sped it up a little bit, and so actually the hours, like the 60 minutes, is actually only 45 minutes now, but the clock is moving that fast, so we don't really know. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like everything's moving fast.
If they could do it, give it to them. You know, if they could trick everybody on the planet, there you go.
Well, I mean, they've been tricking everyone on the planet for quite some time, brother.
True.
Well, who's they? Now, who's they? Hold on here. I'm gonna investigate.
Is this one of these podcasts now? I'm all for it.
It could be. Yeah, I mean, these are my kind of podcasts now.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Well, we're gonna talk about some different stuff, man. Here on the podcast, we talk about a lot more than just wrestling or professional wrestling. We talk about purpose. We talk about nutrition. We talk about a variety of things. So before we get to the wrestling talk, I do want to talk about nutrition because last time you were on the podcast, Mr. Aries, you inspired me to give this whole no meat thing a try for an entire month. And actually, I went 2 weeks no meat, and then I was like, I got to cut the dairy out too. So then I went an additional 2 weeks no meat and no dairy.
Yeah.
What happened for me was I felt I didn't have to drink any energy drinks because I was eating, I think, so much fruit that I just had so much energy. So that was cut out. I felt my digestion was better. Even maybe like my mind felt like pretty good. The where I struggled was getting full. So like I would eat beans. I did eat eggs. I know you're not you're not an egg guy. We'll get into that. But I was eating eggs and beans, and I was eating vegetables and fruits. And like I said, then I cut out dairy, and so then that eliminated like protein shakes. But I'd make them with water. You helped me out a lot. You gave me a lot of recommendations for some products and stuff, like protein powders and the berry. Oh my gosh, I have it in my cabinet here. What's that? All the fruits in it, the powder. What's that stuff called?
All the fruits in it. I don't remember.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna get it.
Wow.
I might have not recommended it to you.
No. This is Aries recommended. The juice.
Oh no. That's different than what I had. So here's the funny thing. That company made protein powder, but they don't make it anymore. Yeah.
So
last I checked. So I'm not sure what that is.
So this is a super fruit and veggie vitamin blend. It's 100% vegan. I mean, they should be a sponsor.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I've never used that. Yeah.
Okay. They actually sell it at Costco. Anyways, I was doing that because it was just different things.
Sure.
But like I said, man, the main struggle for me was just staying full.
But what is
do you hear that a lot?
Well, no, I think what we tend to realize is sometimes we're overeating and overstuffing ourselves, and we should feel satiated, but we shouldn't feel full.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that you might just not been eating enough. And so, like in my program I'm going to launch here in the next couple of months, one thing that I'm going to teach, and one thing that's important, is you have to track your calories, right? If you're not tracking, then you're guessing. If you're guessing, you're hoping. So, having a food scale, using AI tools now make tracking calories really easy. It doesn't mean you have to do it for life, but you have to do it until you start to understand what your caloric needs are and what that looks like when you're creating your meals. And because really, when it comes down to gaining weight, if you're trying to put on muscle or you're trying to lose weight, it's energy balances law, right? It's energy consumed versus energy spent, right? So if you're going to consume more energy than you're expending, then you're going to gain weight, and if you consume more energy than you expend, then you're going to, or less, then you'll lose weight. But if you don't know the numbers because you're not tracking the calories, then how do you know where to adjust? You don't have the data to make the adjustments. So, yeah, the nice thing about eating like my diet is I can eat a big bowl or a big plate of food, right? And be full, but not have my calories all of a sudden shoot up to exorbitant amounts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to getting back into it again. What you did really also inspire, because I read your book. I should have it handy. It's in my bookshelf there. But check out that book, y'all. Food Fight. It was a great read, because I not only did I learn a lot of just about you as a person growing up, and your kind of how it was on the indies and stuff like that for you, and what you kind of did before wrestling, which I thought was really interesting.
Character
Definitely what. What's that?
character building, I like to say.
Yeah, yeah. But then and then your journey with food, and how you used to eat, and then what how it all went, and then all your the research you did, and why you chose the lifestyle that you did, and all the facts that you put in there on explaining your philosophy, which is, again, there's a lot of facts in there. But um what I was gonna say was, it definitely inspired me to be like, okay, so like I'm not gonna lie to you, like I'm still eating chicken, but like what I'm doing, I'm limiting my red meat completely. Like very rarely do I eat burger and steak, like very rare. And then I'm eating chicken, but I'm going to a very specific place and getting like real, like, as farm fresh as you can, spending extra money to get this you know healthier, I guess, chicken. And then, just again though, like it's all, we're always, learning, and it's a process. And
Sure.
I do want to again try the no meat and no dairy once again. But what have you been doing the last 6 or 8 months since we last talked to you?
Oh boy, wrestling is definitely been on the uptick. Obviously, kind of making my home with Major League Wrestling now, and then their relationship with CMLL has led me to head down to Mexico for a couple of tours down there, compete in Arena Mexico. So that's been a great experience. I moved, and I'm staring at the ocean right now off to the right there. So I got a nice little spot across from the beach here in Florida. So I've been enjoying that. And then, yeah, just, I'm in the editing process of my manual and my guide that's going to go along with my mentorship program. And I'm excited for that. As you can tell, like I'm really passionate about uh, health and food, and also, but just giving people the tools and the information to make informed decisions, right? I talk about being a conscious consumer. We're in this world now where everyone is trying to peddle their form of dopamine, right? Whether it's junk food, whether it's video games, alcohol, drugs, porn, gambling, entertainment. I mean, it's everyone's got their form of dopamine that they want to hook you in, and it's really easy now, especially with these things, is we can get sucked in here, and we're living really unconsciously, and we're being pulled from one to the other, and we're just so unconscious in what we're doing as we're a consumer, right? And so teaching people and giving them the information, the tools to be a conscious consumer, so that they understand when they're making choices of what they consume, that shapes who they are, whether that's food, whether that's the mediums that you watch, the people you hang around. And so for me, the most effective change that people can make is with their food. And it's the thing that we do every day, multiple times a day. And it's the one thing that people a lot of times are the most confused about, or they put the least amount of thought into. And so I've taken my almost 25 years now of navigating this, and my philosophy, what I've done, I've tried, I've tested it, I know it works. I'm not here to debate the merits of plant-based diet versus other diets. There's plenty of other programs out there that will teach you to eat broccoli, rice, and chicken, right? Or 15 egg whites or whatever it might be. But I'm going to teach what I know, and I've really taken it and I want to simplify it, but also explain that it's simple, but it's not easy. Meaning you have to show up and do the work. You have to invest in yourself. You can't push none of your resources to the table, which your resources are your time, your money, and your energy. You can't spend none of your resources and expect to get something of value back. Right. But I want to break it down and give people the simplified version and show them the blueprint to say, hey, once you learn these principles and you put them in play and you start taking ownership of your choices, you will see results, And so I'm excited to do that and to be able to work with people on a direct basis and help them navigate. Because, when it comes to diet and being healthy, there's so much information out there, and a lot of it's conflicting information that people don't know which way is up. So what they default to is the easy one, right? Take the Ozempic and lose weight, right? It's like, well, you can go on the crack cocaine diet and lose weight too. It doesn't mean it's good for you, right?
Yeah.
But so we gotta strip away all the bullshit. We gotta get rid of all the noise. We gotta get down to the real basic fundamentals when it comes to food and health and your choices that are in front of you, and then empower people to say that you can do this, right? It's not too difficult. But you have to be willing to step up and put the work and invest in yourself.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, Danny, I know you got some questions. I had one more thing I wanted to get out here was, well, a couple things. So you're helping a lot of people. I've seen people, you've reshared their stories. You have people that you help. I remember when we first started talking and I was like, well, let me look up and see who else besides Austin Aries is in really good shape that's a vegan. So I looked that up and noticed that. But you're helping a lot of people. Do you have maybe some stories from that you'd be comfortable sharing from some of the people you've helped?
So I mean, there's two that really come to mind. The one I may have talked about last time, but if I didn't, I remember I was speaking at a festival, a Veg Fest, when my book had come out, and after my speech, I went and I was at my table and I was selling my books and talking to people. And this kid came up to me, and he had one of my old TNA shirts on, kind of oversized, And so obviously he's like, oh, he's old wrestling fan. And he came up and he said, hey man, I've been a huge fan of yours for a long time. I remember when you were the spectacular vascular vegetarian, and then I knew that you went all the way vegan. And I decided because of you, I decided to go plant-based and try vegan diet. And I've lost over 200 pounds.
Wow.
He says, my whole family's like obese. And my mom and my sister and me, we all did it and we all were losing weight, and they kind of reverted back to their old style. But I stuck with it and I've lost 200 pounds.
Wow.
And like that hit me like in a place that like telling me about my favorite match of mine that you watched is nice to hear. Don't get me wrong, right? It's flattering. I appreciate it. But when he said that to me, that was a whole nother level of meaning to me, because just by me sharing what I believe and what works for me, he tried it and his life took a complete opposite direction than it was going to go. Right. And like, so that was really like, that really hit me. And I was like, man, like this is that fills me up. Right. And so I've said this before. It's cool to help people be distracted, which is what, as an entertainer, my job is to entertain and distract you from whatever's ailing you in your real life. And that's been very good to me. But to actually help people start to fix and solve those problems so they don't have to always disappear and be entertained and distracted is so much more meaningful to me. So that's one. The other big one is a friend of mine, Chuck Carroll. And so Chuck Carroll worked for CBS Sports, and at his heaviest, Chuck Carroll's 5'6", he was 420 pounds. He had a serious fast food addiction, and he knew he wasn't long for this world. So Chuck started making some fundamental changes to his diet. He started taking the stairs instead of the elevator. He started parking the furthest parking spot away and walking extra steps to work, intent to lose weight and to live long. And so he lost about 200 pounds, and then he kind of plateaued out. And when my book came out originally, he interviewed me for CBS Sports because he covered a lot of the wrestling stuff. And after we got done with the interview, we were just talking. I said, "Hey, man, have you ever thought about going plant-based? Have you ever thought about trying a vegan diet? This might be the thing that unlocks that next level for you that you've kind of plateaued." And so he did his own research and he decided to give it a try. And he ended up going plant-based. He ended up adopting a vegan lifestyle. He ended up losing almost another 200 pounds. He got down to about 165 pounds. He quit his job with CBS Sports and he started something called the Exam Room, which is it's called the Physicians Committee of Responsible Medicine, PCRM. It's an all plant-based medical facility run by Dr. Neil Barnhart out in Washington, D.C. So they treat people with food first. Before we ever get into drugs, it starts with a plant-based diet. And let's see what we can heal and cure with that before we get into all the other Western modalities. And so Chuck became the voice of their podcast called The Exam Room, which he's been doing now for probably almost close to 10 years. I mean, they get hundreds of thousands of listens every week. So I talk about the ripple effect, right? Mm-hmm. So you share who you are and what you believe in, and it resonates with somebody, and then they take that on. And like in that case of the first kid, who knows how many people that he's influenced around him by him losing 200 pounds. And now Chuck goes and now is the voice of the Exam Room for almost a decade. Hundreds of thousands of people that have listened. How many people has he helped, right? And so, so he credits me as the guy who kind of pushed him over the edge to make that shift. And so we've actually been in discussions about starting our. He still does that podcast, but he wants to branch out and do some other podcasts on the network. And so we've been talking about collaborating and doing a podcast together, which I think would be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man. That's awesome. I love hearing testimonials like that. And with your program launching, I'm sure you have many more people that you've helped over the years. Like I said, I've seen a lot of it just on on your social media. But Danny, what did you have for Austin Aries here?
I mean, just listening, like after we had a conversation, we have completely different diets, like opposite ends of the spectrum, but we believe in a lot of the same, things about putting in, like you can't expect results if you don't put any work in. And I do a lot of like streaming and stuff like that. And how I found engaging with people, and we're starting to do it again, is I do like superhero workouts. So like I have a community and I'm like, these are 5 or 6 that I want to do. You guys vote on which one. I've done Batman, Captain America, Thor, Cyclops, and we're currently voting right now. But I find you have to get people interested in it somehow. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like I've shown people these things and just like listening, it's like people always look for, man, we're so different. But it's like, you get along with people when you're like, we're a lot alike more than differences, Yeah. And so I just like after our last podcast, just, listening and taking in a lot of, what you said with the your dieting and your work ethic, I try and spread that as well, push that out to people. And it's such a great mentality to have. You know what I mean? Like if you want it, you got to work harder than the future you who's already achieved it, So
yeah. And to your point, one of the great things wrestling allowed me to do was travel all around the world and sit and actually have conversations with all these different people from different upbringings, different religions, different cultures, different races, and realize, when you strip away a lot of these labels and things that are placed upon us, we're all pretty much similar. Like as human beings, we all kind of want the same things, right? We want companionship, we want love, we want peace, and then the other thing too is like there is so much value to be able to sit and have conversations with people who have different perspectives or different upbringings with the intent to learn something, right? And I think now, especially more than ever, social media makes it very easy for people to sit in an echo chamber, and they only interact and they only talk to people who talk just like them and think just like them, and they start to shape this perception of people who have different opinions, and somehow they're evil or they're bad people because they don't believe in the same things, right? And it could be further from the truth. Being able to have respectful discourse is a lost art in this culture. And a lot of the time, the reason for that, I believe, is because people make their arguments and they're forming their opinions on emotion and not necessarily on fact or on logic. And so when you try to have a conversation with someone, you're bringing fact or logic, and they don't have that to come back with, they get emotional and they attack you. And then that's when they start with you're this kind of ist, or you're this kind of phobic, or you're this kind of anti, because they can only slap a label on you, and they can't understand, like, there's nuance to all these conversations that we're having about social and economic things. And not everyone fits into one box on one side of the aisle. And so, I think it's important to be able to sit here and respect people, to say, hey, it's cool. Like, Joe Rogan, right? He's a hunter. Now, me and Joe Rogan we're not wired the same. I don't like to kill things unless I have to. I don't like to hurt things unless I have to, right? And I realized I don't need to do that to survive 25 years, and I'm still here and I'm healthy and I'm thriving. So now it's not a necessity, it's a choice, and I choose not to. But I can respect the fact that he has that connection and he believes that, and I believe this, and I can still sit down, maybe not for dinner, but I can sit down at the table and have a conversation with him, and I can at least try to understand the perspective while also being able to admit, like, yeah, that's just not how I'm wired. That's not how I see the world, And so I think that that's really important in this time, is that you got to get out of your echo chamber, and you have to be able to have conversations with people, because you know what? I'm never afraid to be wrong, because if I'm wrong, that means I just learned something new, right? I learned something that yesterday I thought differently, and now someone said something in a way that I looked at it and went, I never thought of it like that. That makes a lot of sense.
Most definitely. Another thing I thought was really fascinating in your food fight book was when you were talking about how in certain studies, in regards to some folks that maybe had some terminal illness or some sort of, you know, diagnosis,
Sure.
that changing over to a plant-based diet actually corrected whatever was wrong with them, and they went on to live a longer, healthier life than the doctors could have ever expected. I found that really interesting, and we currently have somebody at my church that's got some bad doctor's reports, and of course, I'm a big believer in speaking life over things, but faith without works is dead. You have to make the right choices. And so I've been encouraging him, and a lot of my friends and family, we've been encouraging him to correct his diet, and it's huge.
Listen, all disease and it was created somehow, somewhere. You don't get cancer from one bad weekend of bad choices, right? You get cancer over years and years and years of consistently making bad choices, a little bit at a time, until the toxic load in your body, or some people believe it's parasites, or whatever it might be, the cause. There's a cause to it. It doesn't. The biggest fallacy is these things just happen. And we've been taught to accept that, oh, this is just part of life. No, it's not part of life. 100 years ago, the cancer rate was about like 1% of the population. Now I understand maybe the diagnostic tools weren't then what they are now. But now we're rocking like a 40% cancer rate. That's an obscene amount of increase in 100 years. And it goes hand in hand with a lot of other things, right? And so, I don't have health insurance. Why? Because I don't want to pay into a fear-based system that profits on sick people, not healthy people. And my mom asked me, what would happen if you got diagnosed with cancer tomorrow? I said, well, I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go to a Western medical doctor. I'm not going to go on chemotherapy. I'm not going to go on radiation. there's probably a dozen things I would do before that. The first thing I would do a fast, minimum of a 3-day fast, maybe longer. That causes the body to go into autophagy, where it starts eating up your bad and damaged cells. Fasting has cured more disease than any pharmaceutical known to man, guaranteed. Now there's things like soursop. There's dandelion root, dandelions, the things that when I was growing up, I was told we spray chemicals on to kill because they're weeds, right? And the same company that makes the chemicals to kill the dandelion root also just happens to make the medicine for the cancer that the chemicals that they spray on the dandelion root give you. And here's the biggest ruse. What's one of the most powerful medicines that was given to us on this planet? Dandelions. That's why they grow everywhere so easily, because that was the medicine for us. But at some point, someone came along and said, nah, we can't monetize that. So let's kill that. And then we'll take the compounds from the dandelion and we'll put it in a petroleum pill and we'll sell it to them. Right? Like, so again, yes, you know, it's all about what are we doing to create these things? Autoimmune disease is a big one, right? Cancer's a big one. Obesity, obvious. Heart disease, obvious, right? And so, the biggest thing that people, the lie that people have been told is that, well, it wasn't your fault. That was genetics. That was just because that's what is in. No, take ownership. You caused this some way, shape, or form over years and years and years and years. You have the power to reverse it. You don't have to go to a doctor. You have to change. You can't keep doing the things you've been doing and then expect you get a different result, right?
What are your thoughts if someone would say, it's hereditary?
Well, that usually means that you eat the same diet and lifestyle that your parents did. That's what's hereditary. You grew up eating the same types of garbage foods, living the same type of lifestyle, smoking the same cigarettes, drinking the same alcohol, right? That your parents did and that everybody else did around you. Are there some genetic things? Absolutely. Of course there are. But more often than not, because I'll speak in my experience. So I have family members that are on pharmaceuticals, that are on cholesterol pills, that are obese. We have the same genetics. What's the difference? Our lifestyle choices, right?
Yep.
I didn't just get lucky and hit the genetic lottery and somehow wasn't afflicted with all the things that my other family members are. I've just made different choices for the last 25 years of my life, right? And so that's the easy way that absolves me of responsibility. And it wasn't my fault. And if it wasn't my fault, well, then I don't have the power to change it either. So just give me the pill. Because if I accept responsibility, I did it to myself, then I might have to accept responsibility that I'm the one who has to change it. And that's more work. It's easier to just keep eating the same crap and then just take the drug or take the pill. And that's supposed to be the magic sauce.
I'm similar to you in the sense of the how evil the pharmaceutical business is, and I'm not a big fan of doctors and health insurance either, to be honest. But one thing I do, this might be we're just going off on all kinds of great topics. We're not even getting into wrestling yet, but some things I do, like I like to go to the dentist and get my teeth cleaned. Okay, so that's important. And then okay. We don't usually talk about this on the podcast, obviously. So I'm a believer, right? And I don't believe that sickness is of God. I don't think it's. I just, like, if I'm feeling a scratch in my throat, I just start speaking, calling myself healed. I just refuse to accept any sickness in my life. That being said, sometimes I gotta, crap, I gotta take an antibiotic or something. So my questions are, what are your thoughts on the dentist and antibiotics if you are dealing with a virus?
So I don't like dentists. But when I was in India, I did go to the dentist there and get a bunch of, probably overdue dental work. A couple of cavities filled and a little chip in my tooth taken care of and a nice whitening. And it cost me like, I don't know, a couple $100 or like $300. It was like six teeth. There's like six teeth fixed and a cleaning and all this. It was like $300. I was like, yeah.
Wow.
You're better off flying to another country, taking a vacation, get the work done there, and it'll still be cheaper than it is over here. I've done a little research into dentistry and that, and unfortunately, I think that it a lot of times falls under the same category as Western medicine, where um, again, dentists don't make money on people that have good dental health. Right. And so a lot of things, like when I've watched some documentaries on like root canals, the connection between breast cancer and root canals is there's a strong correlation there. On the side where women have gotten root canals, they've developed breast cancers. I think that's interesting. I'm not saying that like I believe that, but I think it's worth at least, like, oh, that's interesting to me that there's a correlation there. See, I don't think inherently like dentists or doctors are evil or bad people. They're just born into a system that incentivizes unhealthiness, right? A bunch of healthy people don't make money for the hospital. A bunch of people with good teeth don't make money for dentistry. So the system is incentivized to peddle poor information and poor choices to keep their bottom line looking healthy. I don't think it's because there's a group of people that are sitting in a room somewhere and they're, being all conspiratorial. I just think that we live in a system that incentivizes some of the worst things because that's where the profit margins are. No different than social media. The algorithm skews towards violence, division, negativity, because that's what gets views and grabs people. That's why the news is always highlighted all the worst things happening in the world instead of the best. Um, you know, that is unfortunately what a capitalistic society is going to give you. We're going to put the dollar and the profit over everything else, even if it's even if it goes against what's in the best interest of humanity. What was the second part of that? You asked about dentists and what else?
So like viruses,
Antibiotics.
like antibiotics,
I mean, listen, if you get a viral infection or something like that, then I'm not going to say I've never taken antibiotics. Um, there's some times where there are things that have been released into this world, or there's things on this planet that if you get infected or come in contact with, like, yeah, I'm not saying all modern medicine or Western medicine is bad. There's some of it's very necessary. I think it's a much narrower scope than we're led to believe, but absolutely, like, I'm not here to dismiss all of it and say, oh yeah, if you get a viral infection, just just fast for 4 days and it'll go away. I don't know that that's true, right?
Sure.
So yeah, but I think that having, we need to use discernment, and I think also we have to understand that that a system that's driven by profit is always going to try to outsource everything they can and tell you that you're not capable, or you don't have the answer, you don't have the solution. And one of the conversations I've had a lot with like my aunt and my mother is the realization that the time that they grew up in, they didn't have information at their fingertips. If they wanted to research something, they had to go to a library and dive into a bunch of encyclopedias, and it was tedious, right? Yeah. And so they were taught that if you want to know something, you have to go to the expert and ask them. So they've gotten the mindset when they go to a doctor, they ask the doctor, what do I need to do, right? No different than if you take your car to the mechanic. I don't know anything about cars. Tell me what's wrong. Well, what are they going to tell you? They're going to probably maybe tell you some stuff that's going to put money in their hands. We are now in a society where you don't have to ask the expert. You can become the expert. The information's out there. Yes, there's a lot of information. You have to sift through it. Some of it's going to be conflicting information. But if you want to put the time in and you want to educate and yourself, you do that, so that when you walk in the doctor, you tell the doctor what you want to have happen, because they work for you. Right? I'm not asking them, do you think I need blood work? I'm telling them I want a comprehensive blood panel so I understand where I'm at with all my vitamins, minerals, deficiencies, whatever. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you. Right? It's just like when you walk in the mechanic, you say, yep, I diagnose this. I think this is what's wrong. This is what needs to be fixed. You're in a whole different position of power now, because you're walking in with the knowledge and the information. Doesn't mean you know how to fix it, right? Doesn't mean I know how to do surgery, but I'm going to walk in and understand exactly what I need to have happen. And not feel like I'm so dumb and I'm so misinformed or uninformed that I need somebody else to tell me what's best for my life.
Yeah. What about you, Danny? You like going to the doctor?
No, not really. Last time I went to the doctor, so I go and get my teeth cleaned every 6 months. I just get it cleaned and that's it. I don't really. Last time I had dental work, well, I had a root canal because when I was in the Marine Corps, I got hit in the face, and it killed one of my teeth. It killed this tooth right here, but I didn't know about it. And it was 7 or 8 years. And I went to the dentist and they were like, your teeth are great, but this tooth right here, does it cause you problems? And I'm like, no, I mean, I don't have any issues. And they were like, well, this tooth is dead. And, but like, I take care of my godmother's a dental assistant. She's always giving me good advice. And I take care of my teeth, you know? So like the last cavity I got, I was 14. I'm 40. I haven't had because I brushed my teeth, drink lots of water. I don't floss as much as I should, but
yeah.
And that's it. You know,
I floss quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't as much as I should, you know, but
I have those like little picker things.
Yeah, so do I.
Right? You know, and so it was actually a blessing. I had this little gap formed in one of my back molars, and so pieces of food when I eat would get lodged in there.
Yeah,
and so I just started always carrying the picker around to get whenever I ate to just get the little piece out. But now, because I always had these, I just got in the habit of just doing this. Also, like, throughout the day, I'm constantly doing that. I was like, oh, this is actually probably working in my favor. So, Danny, I have a question. So, the tooth wasn't bothering you?
Nope.
There was no pain?
Nah.
What was their reasoning for you needing to get a root canal?
Well, so talking with them is they were saying, well, once everything dies in the area, the tooth is just going to fall out. So then you're going to have a gap. And then if you have a gap there, we could put a veneer in there or whatever, the one that like it clips on your teeth until. And then I was like, I don't want to deal with all of that. And then they were talking about if you want, but I don't want to have a giant hole in the front, you know, like if it was in the back, it'd be different. But like if I smile,
you're a hockey player or something.
Yeah. I think my smile and my beard are like two of my best things. So like, I don't want to take, you know, I don't want to take that away. And so I was like, okay, well, what are our options? And like, well, we could pull it out, let it heal. Then we could drill a screw in it. And then we could get a veneer, put it in. And then, you know, but then I'm going to have a gap for months. And then I have to have the screw and that's got to heal. Or they're like, we could do a root canal, get it done. And it could last, who knows how long. It could take, and it could be there for a decade, or it couldn't. And we're back in the same spot. And I was like, well, let's just do that. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if you're ever interested, there's a documentary I watched called The Root Cause.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's all about root canals and stuff. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying I haven't gone and thoroughly fact checked that, and it could be skewed. But it was interesting because it was stuff that I never really considered. Yeah. When it came to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't go to doctors. Last time I went to a doctor, I got blood work and everything like that done. And then my doctor's assistant called me and was like, hey, I was just looking at your paperwork. You know, when did, how long ago did you have a heart attack? I was like, excuse me? Never. I'm just finding out right now I did. And, long story short, I went to a specialist and she was like, I'm just going to ask you a couple questions. Like, how physically active are you? And I was like, my entire life. I played sports since I was 11. And then, you know, like I played football in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marines, you know, and like all this stuff. And she's like, a lot of athletes have like, there's a spot where in your heart beats, it looks irregular. So, which looks like you had a heart attack because your heart is just, athletes have their heartbeat is slightly off compared to regular people. And if you do the EKG, it looks like something's wrong in your heartbeat.
When I had to do my physical when I joined WWE, I had to get extra. I had this same thing where they did some extra tests on my heart because of that irregularity and that. And it was basically what they kind of said. Yeah, so some people's are like that, or again with athletes.
Yeah, and I took that back to my doctor, and I was like, "Well, here it is. The cardiologist said this, this, and this," and he's like, "Well, it looks like I just won't have to send them there. I'm not going to send anybody there anymore because that's
money out of my pocket."
Yeah, and I just like, what? I'm like, okay. And then after that appointment, I was like, that's just, it's so dumb to me.
it's just got to understand, and it's something I've always talked. It's like doctors are only as smart as the books they were given to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's questioning if the books are giving them good information?
Sure.
Well, again, who wrote the books? Who wrote the curriculum? Well, if you go
Mhm.
back 100 years and you look at the Flexner Report and you look at, Rockefeller's role in Western medicine, it tells you who wrote the playbook.
Sure.
It wasn't a doctor,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so, so again, I don't think doctors are inherently evil. They
Yeah.
just trust that the playbook and the books that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars and 8 years to study was being truthful and giving them the right
Mhm.
information. And in my opinion, like it's inaccurate and it's not
Yeah.
comprehensive and it's skewed towards profit, not actual health.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like too, a lot of reasons, like people have become, for lack of better terms, soft. And so it's like, I hurt, I got to go to the doctor. And it's like, why don't you just drink a little water, elevate, stretch? I feel like people don't stretch as much as they should. And then all of a sudden you walk down the stairs and you're like, oh, my hamstring's tight. And it's like, well, when was the last time you bent down and touched your toes?
Right.
Like,
oh, my neck hurts. Like, well, you have been on Twitch for the last 8 hours, sitting there.
Absolutely.
So the last time I went to the doctor was probably 3 years ago when I was in India. Because after there for a couple of months, my third month there, I think someone washed the vegetables in the sink water, and I caught a little bug. And I was having all those symptoms and I lost a lot of weight. Like I lost like almost 20 pounds because I was like losing so much fluid. And so I went to an Ayurvedic doctor there and I was put on a 3-day treatment of like a herbal oil enema, massage, and like a sweat thing, or basically like a sauna. And so I had to go in for 3 days and they did all this to me and they did the massage and they did the herbal enema and then they put me in the sauna and she gave me some herbs and stuff, echinacea and some other things. I can't remember, ashwagandha, whatever it was. And I got better. And that entire treatment, I think, was like $40.
Wow.
For like all 3 days.
Yeah.
Like an hour a day to get like massaged and worked on and this. And I was like shelling out like $40-50. And I was like, right. It's crazy, man.
Well, I want to welcome you guys to the newest segment here on the show. It's very popular in the pro wrestling community. It's called "What Pills Are You Popping?"
Yeah.
I'll share mine if you guys are comfortable sharing what you're taking on a daily basis.
Sure.
All I take over here, y'all, is I take an allergy pill and I snort the saline because I've been battling allergies. Especially around here, there's lots of trees and pollen and all that. I can't wait to hear Austin Aries' take on that. I also take a zinc and a multivitamin, and that's it. What about you, Danny?
I take some water and I used to take a multivitamin. I used to take fish oil. I used to take like vitamin D, but I just kind of like, now I've incorporated fasting in my natural routine, and I don't feel like I need it anymore. Like I feel just as good as I did. Like Mitch, I was talking to you, I was sick last week. And I fasted for 3 days. I have a sauna at home and I sat in the sauna I slept for like 2 days straight, but when I got up and I still felt bad, I sat in the sauna, I kind of sweated it out, and I just kind of, like I got rid of everything, all those bad toxins that were in my body. And so I don't really take anything anymore.
Nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Short answer: I don't take nothing.
Yeah.
That's now, Austin. What are your thoughts, Daniel, Austin Aries, on here? It's right here. I'm looking right at it. See this deal right here. Now, so this is what I do. I snort this deal right here. It does help.
We used to. My buddies showed me that we put our cocaine in that. Sort of God, because then you could carry it with you everywhere, and you didn't have to like go in the bathroom and chop it up on the toilet seat. You just took a little, and no one thinks of that. You got your cocaine in your nasal spray, and yeah. But I don't take that anymore. But I was saying,
Another thing,
the nasal spray. That was the nasal spray I did.
Another thing I forgot to mention, I actually have an inhaler too. So this is just something that I want to hear your thoughts on, because I've battled. My mom smoked cigarettes in the house when I was growing up.
Sure.
And so I think that, along with just, allergies, I think they're a real thing. The pet hair, the pollen in the grass and stuff. For me, I feel a difference in my, daily, my life when I'm around too much cat hair, too much pollen and grass, and then the cigarette smoke. I have a hatred for cigarette smoke. I'll hate anything in my life, but I do not like cigarette smoke. But anyways, what are your thoughts on nasal spray, inhalers, and then this philosophy of zinc being such a what's the word, where you're building up helping your immune system with the zinc. What are your thoughts on all of that? And a multivitamin.
All right. So multivitamin is just, you're paying for expensive pee. That's my more often than not. So when it comes to allergies, I'm not going to say like allergies don't exist or there's not legitimate allergies. There are. I will also say, though, that a lot of people, when they changed their diet and they eliminated things like dairy and animal products, their allergies went away. It's been documented many, many times. And there's something specifically about dairy in itself that tends to be something that has a correlation to allergies.
Mucus.
So here's the thing: if you've been eating this way your whole life and you developed allergies at an early age, you think, well, that's just how I am. It's like, but you never changed the habits that might be contributing to the allergies, right? So again, I'm not saying that's a blanket statement for everyone across the board, but it's something that if I developed an allergy, that would be my first question. Well, what caused that, right? Why am I having a reaction to this? What is it? What is it? Is there something else I'm eating that then is causing me to now have a reaction to something else? When it comes to like what pills do I pop? So I don't religiously take anything on a day-to-day basis. One thing I have gotten into the habit of doing almost every morning is I eat like 2 or 3 Brazil nuts for selenium. So again, I use food for my vitamins and minerals as much as I can before I then go to the pill form. So Brazil nuts is a great source of selenium. So I eat about, when I get up in the morning, I'll have my glass of water, I'll have 2 or 3 Brazil nuts before I have my cup of coffee. So when it comes to supplements, I like to get comprehensive blood work done a couple times a year so that I actually know what supplements am I deficient in? What supplements do I need to supplement? And that's why I don't believe in multivitamins, because you might be taking a bunch of vitamins and minerals you don't need and you're just peeing them out. So it's better to be targeted and go, okay, like, so the last time I did my blood work was November. First of all, I don't know if you guys know anything about like testosterone ranges, right? A lot of guys at my age are on TRT. And so I got my testosterone done to see where my levels are at. And at 47 years old, all natural, I was rocking an 1160 testosterone, which if you were 25 and you had 1160, you would be excited. So, and so that to me was, it was funny when because I went through a TRT thing to see, well, let me see. And when they got the results back, they were like, yeah, I think you're good. Right. And so again, which is crazy because, everyone's going to tell you like, oh, soy gives you titties. And I'm like, maybe soy gives you testosterone, but I do know that selenium, having high selenium can help with your testosterone production. I have taken things like pine pollen. I like natural testosterone boosters is something I have dabbled in over time that maybe has helped that. Right. So I got my blood work done and I wasn't deficient in anything. There were some things I was in the lower range, like B12, right? And that's the big one as a vegan diet. People will say, yeah, but you got to take a B12 supplement. Understand that B12 doesn't come from animals. B12 is a bacteria that comes from soil or comes from algae. So historically, as the animal grazes in the field and is eating the soil, it's acquiring the B12, and then you eat the animal and you get the B12 from the animal. But nowadays in modern farming and industrial farming, the animals aren't grazing, so they actually give the cows a B12 supplement. So for all the people that say, well, yeah, if you have to supplement B12, then your diet must be deficient. It's like, yeah, but you're also taking a supplement. You're just taking it through the cow who took the supplement for you. So I just cut out the middleman, which is the cow, and I just will take the B12. I don't take it every day. You know, I'm kind of sporadic with it. I'll take it for a couple weeks, then maybe I won't take it for a couple weeks. Or if I'm on the road, I don't sweat about bringing all my vitamins with me. But I do take a B12 occasionally. I'll take an omega-3. That was something that, like, when I had low cholesterol, but it was like, well, maybe my good cholesterol is a little low. My overall cholesterol is low because I don't consume any cholesterol, because cholesterol only comes from animals, right? So if I'm not consuming any animal products, the only cholesterol I have is the cholesterol my body's making, right? So I started taking a vegan omega-3 occasionally. I will take at night. I may take some zinc at night. I was a little lower end on the iodine because I probably I don't do a lot of salt in my diet, right? So I'm not getting a lot of that. So I I have an iodine pill, or I started getting some iodized salt and sprinkling that on things. So yeah, I think it's beneficial. Again, if you don't have the data, how do you make adjustments? You're just guessing, right? And you can feel fine, and your body will always find a way to rob from Paul to pay Peter, right? And so you can be deficient in something for a lot of years and feel fine until all of a sudden you're not. Your body's going to steal it from somewhere else until all of a sudden now you have an issue. So I think getting blood work done, especially as we're getting past our 30s and our 40s, like getting blood work done twice a year, I think is great. Let me see where I'm at. Let me see if there's any deficiencies, and then you make some corrections. Maybe take a couple of supplements or change up your diet, and then you check 6 months, 8 months later, and go, okay, where am I at now? And has it made a difference? Yeah. So, but yeah.
Nice. Well, that has been this edition of what pills are you popping. We thank you. I totally made that up. That's not actually a segment on the show, but it's perfect.
It could be a good one. Yeah.
Hey,
I think I'm going to start doing it.
With that, so I used to have. I wanted to touch on this real quick. With your allergies, you use the nasal spray. Have you ever used a neti pot? You know what that is? Mitch?
Neti pot.
Mitch, you know what a neti pot is?
I don't. I feel like I've heard the term. But.
Yeah. So a neti pot it's just like you basically are putting water in this nostril and it comes out the other one. So it flushes. It flushes your systems out.
It's from Ayurvedic medicine, right? Yeah. Like this is something that we did when I was in India. That we learned.
Yeah. They do it all the time.
So basically you put a salt water solution. It looks like a little pot, right? And you put a saline solution in it, salt water basically. Mm-hmm. And you tip your head and you pour it in, and the water is going to flush everything out the other side.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's again, it'd be worth if you have allergies and you're doing that nasal spray, you should do an neti pot.
Yeah. 100%.
What are your thoughts, Austin, on inhalers? People that are having breathing, again, I know it's going to go back to diet, but there's different kinds of inhalers. There's these nebulizers, of course, then in severe cases, people are hauling around oxygen tanks. I mean, that's a scary thing when you're not being able to take deep breaths. I mean, a lot of times though, these folks they're obese that are dealing with that. So, I mean, I think it's all going to come back to that. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So with that too, so because of burn pits in Iraq, my lungs only inflate 70%. And that's like on a good time. But like your lungs are a muscle. So taking deep breaths in, holding it, like doing stuff to train your lungs will help you breathe better. Yeah.
We don't breathe correctly. Why? One of my philosophies, like why people get like one of the addictions to smoking is it's one of the few times that people actually go do a full inhale
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So a full breath starts in your belly. You feel your belly, and then you fill up into your chest, and then you top it off here. It's called a yogic breath, a full yogic breath.
Yeah.
Right. Breathing and learning how to breathe correctly and learning different breathing techniques is one of the most powerful healing modalities that we all have in our fingertips that nobody is being taught. It can completely regulate your parasympathetic system, get you out of your fight or flight mode, get it in your rest and digest mode. And it just takes literally 5 minutes of just breathing correctly. But again, they can't patent that and they can't make money on that. And if everybody knew how to do that, the amount of all the different mental disorders would reduce, and they wouldn't be prescribing their anxiety pills and the depression pills.
Yep.
Because people would just know when they start feeling themselves shifting into their sympathetic system, that they go, okay, wait a second, let me do some box breathing, which box breathing is 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 2, 3, 4, exhale 2, 3, hold, right? And so you do it in a box, whatever you're kind of like. There's all these different techniques, and again, one of my favorite parts of spending the time in India and doing this 2-month yoga course wasn't the poses. It was learning about pranayama, and that there's different breaths to do different things. Some will cool you, some will heat you up. And so you start learning like, oh, there's all these techniques and they're all free. And once you know them and you have the information, they're yours. Nobody can take it away from you. You don't need to subscribe to keep it, right? It's not a subscription plan. You don't need it. You don't need someone to write you a prescription to do it, right? And you have that, and now you feel empowered to say, oh no, I can re-regulate my emotion. I can just take 5 minutes. Okay, I'm better, right? Or again, literally hug a tree. Like I've hugged trees, and if you really hug a tree and you really tap in and you feel the energy of the tree, it's grounding. It'll dissipate all that energy that you need to, right? Again, putting your feet in the grass and grounding yourself. These are all things that, again, Western medicine doesn't really want people to know about, and doctors certainly aren't prescribing before they're putting you on the pill. They're not saying, well, hey, before we put you on the anxiety pill, I want you to try these 2 different breathing techniques anytime you start to feel a panic attack. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I'm always a big believer in the breathing. I'm always, saying to my wife or to my mom or whoever, take some deep breaths. It's going to be all right. And, I learned a lot doing DDP yoga, and he's a big believer in a lot of things that sounds like that you are with the breathing, control your breath, you can control your life kind of thing. But in wrestling, before we step out that curtain, we got to take some deep breaths, man. Because for me, I'm always feeling that rush, and I just got to calm myself, bring myself down, so I can go out there and do, what I do, and then, just having your breath with cardio. You got to be able to breathe when you're doing all that crazy stuff in the ring, and have your breath there as well. And speaking of wrestling, I was trying to find a little transition into getting to some wrestling talk. I did want to know some of your pet peeves in wrestling, because I'll just share a couple of mine. We're different levels. Obviously, you're national, global star. I'm just an independent wrestler over here in Northern California. But what bothers me, man, is when the show goes too long. Danny, what's going on with you over there? You drop down? Are you okay?
I'm sitting down. I've been standing for about an hour.
You were standing this whole time? Wow.
Yeah. So when the weather changes, my hip starts really killing me. So I gotta stand and stretch it out. But
okay.
Yeah.
I was like, did he lower his seat really low? I was like, well, I wasn't sure what happened there.
Nah, my desk.
Anyways,
put my desk down.
So when a show goes too long, that just I'm just like, oh man, it really it bugs me. Of course, just preventable things, bad gear or a ref that gets in the way or whatever. But what are for you though, Austin Aries? What are some things that bother you? And I'm sure this could be a long list.
How long? How long you want to do this for? You said we didn't want to go over 2 hours. Not asking this question. Well, first, to your point of breathing, before I go on the curtain, I do take a good half dozen to a dozen super deep breaths just to oxygenate everything, right? So I don't blow myself up with my emotion. But I think the other point is starting to learn during the match, the points where you need to take those deep breaths, because that's how you don't get blown up when you're going 20, 30, 40 minutes, is you understand that these points where maybe I'm selling or I'm outside the ring is like, okay, here's my 10 seconds where I can get a few deep breaths and reoxygenate and calm before I need to pick up my pace again. So I think that that's a underrated thing that people don't always think about. Pet peeves, man. There's just, it seems like there's, and it's like, to me, it's like not even pet peeves. It's like the industry's just changed so much in the last, 5 to 10 years, that there's so many things happening now that when I broke in, like never would have happened. Right. Guys just leaving after their match, like they're done and they just take off or whatever. Oh, I got a 2-hour drive. It's like, I got a 4-hour drive, like, so what's your point? This was a new one. I did a show out west somewhere, and after the match, the guys were going out to the merch tables and sitting out there during the show, like selling pictures and selling merch. And I actually cut a promo on them I was in the main event, and I cut a promo on them. I said, your generation of your generation wrestlers has no respect, not only for this business, but for the other people in it. And I said, case in point, I said, right now, look at that. All these guys are out there hawking their merchandise while the show's still going on, taking attention off the people here in this ring. I said, they're all walking around with their little regional belts like they're important, like they're somebody. And so during that match, and I saw, I just looked over, and all of a sudden just a bunch of eyes got big and assholes got fucking tight. It's like, yeah, but to me, I don't necessarily blame the wrestlers, because it's like nobody taught them that that's not acceptable. The promoter, it starts with your leadership. That would never that would never happen on my show. And I'm very clear when I run shows. Here's my expectations. Here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I will not tolerate. And if you're not down with that, you can leave now. I'll find someone that will come and play by these rules. I don't do an intermission merchandise. During intermission, nobody goes out to sell merch. Why? Because you're gonna have a window before the show to sell merchandise. I'm gonna make sure the show doesn't go long, which is another one of my pet peeves. It ends so that people aren't looking at their watch and out the door by the time the bell rings, so that they're willing to hang out 15, 20 minutes after the show to sell your merchandise. I'll make sure we announce that throughout the night. Hey, don't forget, immediately following the main event, all your favorite stars will be out at the table selling their merchandise. Go support them, and we'll advertise that. But here's my thing about the merchandise during intermission. What happens to the guy that's right after intermission? Is he out there now when he should be preparing for his match, more worried that he's trying to make an extra $15 selling some pictures? Or does he just not to get to sell merchandise? He just kind of he loses out. Right? My philosophy is intermission. It's short, it's tight, it's quick, and that's the promoter's opportunity to sell his merchandise or to sell his food and his drink. And it's 10 minutes. Go get your snack, get your water, use the bathroom, sit down, in the second half starting. We're not doing right, and that's how you keep these shows from going 3.5, 4.5 hours. But
what's your ideal? What's your ideal show length for an indie show?
I mean, listen, you can. How often are you running? Are you running monthly? 2 hours.
Thank you.
You're running 6 matches. You're running six matches, maybe 7, but you're probably doing 6 matches. You do 4 in the front half. You have your intermission. You have your semi. You have your main. If you want to do 7, you can put one extra one on the back end. And you're out of there in 2 hours, 2.5 tops if it's a big show. And this is something I talk a lot about in my seminars. Everyone goes out there thinking that they're the final scene of the movie. And it's like you're the opening scene of the movie, but you're doing all the final scene stuff in the opening scene. And now the final scene doesn't have those things to do because you thought everyone paid to see you tonight. And this is one of my pet peeves is, and especially now, is guys aren't there to help the promoter sell more tickets. They're there to sell as many of their own t-shirts as they can. And as soon as they do, they're out the door and they don't give 2 shits. Everyone is so self-centered because here's the reason why. When I broke in, I was more reliant on the promotion and the promoter to promote me, to get people in there, because I didn't have my own social media to self-promote. They were my promotion. They were my platform. And if I wasn't helping them grow, then I was actually screwing myself. But now everyone is their own platform, right? And their own promoter. So they're using all these places to wrestle just for their own self-promotion. It's not about helping the promoter grow. It's about helping my channel grow. It's about helping my page grow, my followers grow. So everyone goes in there with a very individualistic mindset of, oh, it's just about me. And so now what I see in matches is guys aren't, again, I was taught my job is to help you get over and make you look the best you can. Your job is to make me look the best I can. And if we both do that, we're both going to come out looking good. Now everyone's just in there for me. I'm just in there to sell my shirt for me, right? I'm just in there for me. And so there's no collaboration. I've said this, if I ran a large wrestling company, if I ran WWE or if I was in AEW or even something like a TNA or MLW, I believe what would fix that would be to have a merchandise pool. Meaning everyone under contract goes in the merchandise pool, and then we split the merchandise equally amongst those 100 people. Because guess what? The guy that sells the most t-shirts doesn't get over if the guy down here doesn't lay down for him and help him get over. Right? Why should Jake Roberts get screwed out of merchandise money while Ricky Steamboat's selling all the stuffed dragons? But because Jake Roberts is the bad guy helping Ricky get over, he makes no money selling stuffed snakes. So now if we're all working in a collaboration, we don't give a shit who can sell the shirts. We just want to sell as many shirts as possible. And if you can sell the shirts, then we're going to help you sell the shirts, because every shirt that you sell for you is we all get paid on it. So now we're actually working together to sell as much as we can, and we gets rid of this very greedy, selfish mindset of, well, it's just, I want to make my money on my merchandise, so I only care about me. And it's like, yeah, but man, if I don't help you look good, then what happens? We're ultimately working together. And so I think like that would fix it. Sure, you could give individual bonuses to guys over a certain amount because they're the guys driving it. But if all the talent was in the same merch pool and knew they were all getting a cut of every doll, of every t-shirt, of every 8x10 that was sold, now we just would want to do what's best to make the most money and work collaboratively instead of individually.
Yeah, it's a team effort without a question. Everywhere from the production team to the people at the selling the snacks to the people cleaning the ring and taping the ropes. I mean, it's just we're all in this together, and you got to play long ball because I've heard it said a million times. The same people that you run into on the way up are the same people on the way back down. One thing that really bothered me, man, a couple weeks ago, I was doing a show in the Bay Area, and Willie Mack was there, and he was doing a seminar. Mm-hmm. And I was like, awesome, I'm there. I've been I'm like, cool. I'm like, this is going to be great. 8 people showed up, man. And I'm just like, there's like 30 people on the show tonight.
Yeah.
And 8 people show up. This guy's works with 8. I mean, Willie Mack's resume speaks for itself.
Can I give you a devil's advocate?
Yeah.
So if I was an indie guy now, I literally could take out a second mortgage just to pay for every seminar that every wrestler who's ever done anything anywhere puts on. And frankly, I'm not speaking specifically to Willie Mack. There's a lot of guys that just because they've been places or they've done things doesn't mean they really have anything to share. Right? Not everyone, just because someone played in the major leagues for 12 years doesn't mean he's a good coach or a good manager. Doesn't mean that he has knowledge to pass on. He might have just been skilled, or he might have just been in the right place at the right time. And I'm not, I don't want to cut him. Like, would you take a Braun Strowman seminar? What's he going to teach you? Be 6'8", 350 pounds.
Right.
Right. So I talk about this in my seminar. Guys, you have to use discernment, because you can be shelling out $40, $50 every weekend to some guy that was on TV for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. You have to look at the body of someone's work and then what they actually bring to the table and go, does this translate to me? And do they have something they can teach me? And a lot of times what you're going to realize is a lot of wrestlers don't. Just because they've been doing it a long time doesn't mean that they are smart or that they know how to articulate and pass on knowledge to somebody else. And so I just want to give that devil's advocate, because I see everyone's running seminars, and I see that, it's like I often think this, and not in an egotistical way, but because I ask for feedback, and I've been told multiple times that my seminar is the best seminar people have ever taken. They've gotten more knowledge and more things that they can effectively use out of my seminar than all the other ones they've taken. And so when I see guys are charging, $50 for their seminar, and I know these people, and I've talked with them, and I've put matches together with them, and so I know that their level of knowledge and intelligence when it comes to the nuance of this art, I'm like, well, this guy's charging $50, then I should be charging 500 for my seminar.
And I can attest to that too, because I think I texted you last week. I was doing some extra work with TNA, and I was talking to a lot of guys from all over the country. People flew in from Australia and Chicago, and so I was talking to a lot of people, and quite a few of them said that they had been to one of your seminars. It was at Miss Ken Anderson's school,
Yeah.
and they said it was the best seminar they ever attended because you explained the in between, which a lot of people don't do. Though, what are you doing in between these moves? Because anybody can do a hip toss and a body slam and all that, but they said, man, we learned so much with Austin Aries coming out there to Ken's school. And dude, I hope we get you out here as soon as possible.
Yeah.
It was sad for me to see, just people showing up, like I said, champions of this company in the Bay Area, showing up with their titles at the end of the seminar, and I'm just I don't know, man. It just bugged me a little bit.
And and I don't want to speak like I'm like removed from this, but like I'm not the same human that I was like in 2019 or before. Like 2020, like when I left and I went and did my own personal work, like something shifted in me and changed in me. And so I can see now, like, listen, this is a bunch of kids that are trying to, soothe their ego. That's what this business attracts.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's a bunch of people who are trying to, they're in their ego. And so it is what it is. And so it's and then especially at the lower levels, why do guys not advance? Well, because they don't really have the right mindset and think of this from a business standpoint. This is just to feel like they're somebody, right? Even if it's in front of the same 150 people, even if it's just going to their local grocery store, they want to be noticed and they want to feel like they're somebody, and that's okay. And I understand that. My number one pet peeve, though, and it's more prevalent now than ever, is just wrestlers who are blatantly not putting the work in to look like athletes or to look like they're tough.
Yeah.
And if you look like someone who should be buying a ticket, you don't love wrestling, because if you loved wrestling, you would actually put the work in to respect this. Now listen, I'm not a big guy. Never will be. I was an athlete and I worked my ass off outside of the ring to at least look the part, to put on muscle, to put on size, to look not like a guy who should have bought a ticket in the third row. And this goes to how I present myself. You think I was wearing this today before the interview? Do you think this is what I just wear on a Wednesday or whatever? Like when it's 90 degrees out, and no. But again, my job is to be perceived to be a guy that people pay tickets to see, not the guy that pays to see other people. There was some tweets or a little video came out. Dave Meltzer. Oh man, wait till you hear my Dave Meltzer analogy at my seminar. I won't say it here because it's not PG, but it is gold. Okay, let's just put it this way: would you pay a virgin to judge people on how well people have sex?
Not at all.
No.
That's all I'm going to say.
I have to say something. I am a Mont. Austin Aries, I just have to say, you look fantastic.
Yeah. But they were talking about the airport test, right? Guys don't pass the airport test. And Meltzer's assertion is, well, the airport test is just be 6'4", 250. That's not the airport test. The airport test is when you walk in the airport, you look like somebody. You look like, and listen, what's my airport test? I dress up. I'm not wearing cogs. I'm not wearing sweatpants. I'm not wearing a t-shirt. I'm not wearing a ball cap. I got my jewelry on. I got my scarf. I got my black slacks. I got my V-neck. Right. Maybe I'll have a blazer if the weather's permitted. I have my shades on. Right. So when I walk in the airport at 6 a.m., I don't have the stature to look like somebody, but I don't look like just everyone else that's walking in that airport. And people are going, I don't know what that guy does or who he is, but he looks like somebody that other people pay to talk to or to watch perform or something.
He's important.
That's passing the airport test. And to me, like, that is like, everyone is so lazy now. Well, they all know it's fake. They all know and it's like, to me, this is what my job entails. I'm supposed to look like somebody. And guys are showing up at shows and they're in t-shirts and shorts and this and that. It's like, well, fine. Like that, I get it. And it's a different world now. I don't watch wrestling these days. I don't rate wrestling these days. If I was a 5-year-old and I saw the product as it's presented today and the wrestlers as they present themselves today, I would have kept flipping the station. It wouldn't have grabbed my attention. I liked wrestling. It felt real. It felt gritty. These guys, it was like two guys that were in there trying to beat each other up to get the winner's purse, right? It was presented as competition, as sport. I was an athlete. I liked competition. I liked sport. Now it's just a spectacle of Cirque du Soleil with real life superheroes on screen, and it's basically it's a new genre, man. And it's fine. And it doesn't mean that these men and women aren't highly skilled and talented at what they do and the athletics and the acrobatics. But to me, somewhere along the line, it's skewed too far into a different genre that for me just doesn't really connect.
Well, we talked about some pet peeves, and I want to know, after 26 years almost, you've been doing this. What are the things that still bring you enjoyment, that when you're at a show, whether it's MLW or it's an indie show or an international event somewhere, and you're just like, this is why I still do this. This is why I love pro wrestling.
And one of the things I really do enjoy about doing the smaller shows is you can actually like connect and have conversations with the fans, right? And understanding that something that is a bit trivial and is a bit silly at the end of the day, has created moments or memories between fathers and sons, or family members or whatever, to bring them together. Or it's helped kids through tough times. Or again, like I talked about that kid, because I was a wrestler, this kid decided to try my lifestyle choice of diet, and it completely changed his life around. Right. So there's like real impact and positive impact we can have with this platform. And then just in the ring, like, again, I get to give people joy. How do I give people joy? By getting beat up, by being a jerk, knowing that in the end, I get what I deserve, and they're gonna enjoy it. And the more I can make them dislike me, the more I can make them think I'm really a bad human being, which a lot of wrestling fans think, even though they've never met me in real life. They're basing it off of a character or things they read on the internet. But the more they really despise me, the lower I pull them here. When the time is right for me to get what I deserve, for the bad guy to finally pay the price, I can take him up here and give him that something that we don't get in everyday life. Again, in real life, the bad guys win more often than not, right? The guy who's willing to be greedy, the guy who's willing to take the shortcut, the guy who's willing to cheat, the guy who's willing to manipulate, they win. They find themselves on top because they're going to do things that the person with integrity isn't willing to do. So in wrestling, I got to take all these things I don't like about the real world, and I got to embody those as a character, knowing that in the end, I get to give the people the satisfaction of actually getting what I deserve. And so that's still the thing that I really enjoy, taking people on that roller coaster ride.
Yeah. As a heel, now what about as a babyface? What are some of your things that you most enjoy about when you're working as a babyface?
So I've always found that to be more difficult for me. Why? Because most people don't really know or want to be real heels. most people need their ego stroked, right? They need the people to do this for them. That's what they're really after. So they like to be the heel in the front end where it's being, talking shit and calling names. But when it's time to show ass, when it's time to finally get what you deserve, now they need to be strong. I need to be a strong heel, brother. Oh, I'm like a Stone Cold Steve Austin heel. He wasn't a heel. He was a good guy. Right. So what I've struggled with as a baby face is if I don't have a if you're in a movie and you're the hero, but the guy that's playing the antagonist doesn't really want to be the antagonist, well then how big of a hero can you be?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why I don't need this. I don't need the adulation. Actually, it even makes me a little uncomfortable. Like I've never been able to take a compliment very well, right? It's just my upbringing, right? And so it's funny that, the Austin Aries character is a lot like almost so much different than Daniel is, right? And like, oh, he's so arrogant, he's so this and so that. It's actually like it's really not. Like actually, I think a lot of it was overcompensating for maybe sometimes a lack of confidence. So you overcompensate, right? And or again, like compliments make me feel, like I don't know how to take a compliment well. I've learned over years to just say thank you, right? Without deflecting or making a self-deprecating joke because I'm uncomfortable taking the compliment. So that works well in wrestling to not need to be the baby face who's getting this because actually I get more joy and feel more comfortable being the guy laying on the mat, smiling ear to ear because I'm listening to the crowd and having so much joy because I just got beat, and like I'm comfortable there. I'm okay there, and it makes me happy because I'm like, I did that because I was willing to be that guy that most people can't be, to give it to this dude. Here, you can be the hero, you can be the good guy. You can, it'd be nice if I got some of your merch.
Yeah.
Be cool if we were splitting the merch, brother. I'm helping you get over,
Right.
Yeah.
What do you got, Danny? You've been quiet for a while.
Yeah, I just enjoy listening to the stories, But okay, I've been wondering too. I asked this on the interview that doesn't exist anymore. What was that moment when you were like wrestling and then you realized this is it? This is where I belong. This is, like this is it. You know what I mean? Like I know a lot of wrestlers are kind of like, I don't know if I should do this. It's not clicking. Right. And then there's just, what was that moment where you're like, yes, yep.
Oh, the minute I walked into the garage and saw the ring in there and two guys training.
Yeah.
Before I even stepped in. The minute I realized this was actually a thing, because again, remember 2000s.
Yeah.
The infancy of the internet, you couldn't Google search and find wrestling schools. So I didn't even know I didn't even know a wrestling school. Like I didn't even know what that was. Mm-hmm. When my childhood buddy called me up and said, "Hey man, yeah, I'm up in Minneapolis trying to be a wrestler." I was like, "What do you mean? Like what? Like what?" Like, yeah, no, I was like, what? There's like a wrestling school, like kind of being a smart. I was like, no, actually, yeah. It's like Eddie Sharkey's running it. I was like, the guy who trained the Road Warriors. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, man, I got to come check this out. And so, I walked in this garage in like, just a suburb of Minneapolis, and it was just this like 16-foot ring, low boy. You couldn't do anything because the roof of the garage was there. And I walked in and saw the ring, and I was like, holy shit, like this is like real. And there's two guys that were in there doing some stuff, and all in my head I was going like, oh, I know I'm better than those guys. But the minute I saw, because again, I'm 22, I just dropped out of college. Mitch, you read my book. I was basically drug trafficking. I was transporting drugs from the Mexican border up to Minnesota. I mean, I was whatever I had to do to make money, and you're young and you're dumb and you don't really understand the repercussions of what you're doing. You think, oh, I'll never get caught, which I didn't, luckily. So you're going, what am I, this is this weighs on you at that age, like, because you're now supposed to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, right? You haven't even figured out who you are yet, but it's like, what are you going to do with your life? And that was why I struggled in college. So I'm like, well, I don't know what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, how do I know what degree I should go after? Like, all this shit sounds terrible, if I'm being honest. Like, so when I saw the wrestling ring, I was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And like, there was never, and I realized how lucky I was in this. there was never a moment of question. There was never a fallback option. There was never, well, maybe. It was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And it was that with that certainty. And it was just like, and now whatever I have to do to get there. And my goal initially wasn't to go to WWE or be on TV or be a champion. I wasn't thinking that. It was when someone says, well, what do you do for work? I say, oh, I'm a professional wrestler. It was literally that simple. And at that time, I'm probably making 25 grand a year waiting tables. So the bar wasn't set real high, but it felt high when you're making $20 a show and you're wrestling 4 times a month. You're like, Jesus Christ, like, how am I ever going to pay back this $3,000 for wrestling school? But that was the moment, man. I knew instantly the minute I saw that this was even a possibility. It's like, oh, well, this is what I'm doing. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, I found out some years later, a funny story with one of the local guys there. He told me the story that another promoter from another company had come and was checking out all the guys that were new and the new faces at camp. And he was like, look around. He's like, oh yeah, this guy's got a good look. He's like, hey, that guy there. He's like, how long's he been training? And Darren said to him, oh, like about 2.5 hours. He's like, no, I don't mean today. Like, how long has he been training? And Darren looks at me, goes, 2.5 hours. And the guy's like, and so I didn't realize at the moment, but like, I was a natural. Like this stuff, it made sense because I'd watched so much wrestling for so long and I was an athlete. And I just kind of innately, once it was explained to me, I could replicate it and I knew how to do it. Was I still green as shit? Yes. But I was far advanced for a guy that was 2.5 hours in. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. And, that was, like that. And I'll say that with any ego, that was my gift, right? Like this is why I knew like, this is what I'm supposed to do because I had the skill set that was going to translate into this. And, 26 years later, I think I was right.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think so too.
Yeah. A lot of guys will say, somewhere in between that 5 to 10 year mark is when they really start feeling it. And they're, that's their, that's when it really, really clicks and stuff. And, I've been watching a lot of old TNA pay-per-views because I didn't watch them, the 2010s, the 10, 11, 12, 13. I didn't watch the pay-per-views back then. So they're on YouTube, so I've been going back and watching stuff, and you just see, man. I don't know if that's you started in 2000, but come those and you did a lot of great stuff in Ring of Honor and TNA and all over the world in the early to mid 2000s. But man, when those 2010 hits, man, and I'm watching your matches, you're just in your I don't want to say your prime, but maybe, you're just in your groove and in your element to a level where you're the top guy and one of the best wrestlers in the world at that time. You know what I mean? You could just tell by what you were doing. I mean, it was really great to watch. And I mean, I'm just telling how I see it, how I was seeing it.
I think when I went back there in, I think it was like 2011, it was like the next, like, I definitely felt like I broke through the next level because before then I was all about wrestling. And then I developed a character and started figuring out who the character Austin Aries was besides just the good match guy. And like, the greatest man that ever lived. I'm like, well, if I'm going to be a bad guy, like, everything I did was about like, that is the most ridiculous title you could ever call yourself, right? Like I can't even say it with a straight face. It's that ridiculous. Or like I would, so like you can't cheer, a guy with the shitty mustache. It's not quite a Hitler mustache, but it's close enough that you're like, what is that? Right? And then the cape and the fuzzy pig.
I was gonna ask about
it was about finding. That's when like the in-ring skill, and then it now was the entertainment part to complement that and to separate myself from a pool of guys that were all, again, if you look, man, the Alex Shelley's and the Chris Sabins and the Petey Williams and the Sanjays, like Jay Lee, like we were all super talented. We all could go in the ring, AJ Styles, right? It's like when I saw AJ, it's like, well, I can't be the most athletic guy anymore because there's AJ Styles. So I better think of something that just sets me apart or gives me more depth as a performer, right? And so I started to find my voice in promos, and now I had a decade of experience. So I had things I could actually call to. I wasn't having to bullshit my way through and make things up. I actually had things I could talk about that were real. So I got to a level where I was able to actually pull from more authenticity, you know?
Yeah, and your intensity too, like that. I mean, I love AJ Styles, but man, the intensity on your end. I mean, it was hard to top. I mean, it was. I said this last time, and I hate to bring his name up, but it was a Chris Benoit type of intensity. Still to this day, I'm sure you have this, and just intensity and this just believability in the ring, man. That just not a lot of people have, and also a very like. It's all very fluid, but it doesn't look like it's choreographed kind of performance. It just looks like this dude's a pro wrestler.
That's what this is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like you talk about pet peeves, man. Like there was a line of, I don't know how many times I said, "Now we can't do it like that because now it looks too contrived." Nah, we gotta shorten it here because if we do it that, now it looks choreographed, right? Like there was a line to me that if we crossed it, now we were exposing the business, and it no longer, we weren't trying to sell it as real. I get that we know that people know it's not, but our job is to make them believe, suspend disbelief, and present it as authentic. And if you're not intense and everything's too rehearsed, too choreographed, you get what we have now, which is video game wrestling. It's a bunch of guys. It looks like people are mashing buttons. There is no emotion. There is no intensity. There is no realism because they're trying to do Cirque du Soleil, and they're trying to, again, if I got to sell and feed more than 2 ways at a time, and I got to sell a third way if you do the third thing, now we jump to neighborhood and make believe. Right now we're into Mortal Kombat. Now we're into a movie fight sequence. And to me, again, it's my opinion, my preference. That's not what pro wrestling was. Pro wrestling wasn't video games. It wasn't a movie, right? It wasn't superheroes. It was supposed to be rooted in realism, right? And so that has been lost, and that's fine. You know, it is what it is. Every genre changes, it evolves or devolves depending on your perception. But I prided myself on that. On again, I ask a lot of kids now on the independent level when I wrestle them, and I'll always ask them after the match, how'd that feel? And to a man, that was really intense. That's what it's supposed to feel like. It's supposed to feel like you're in a real fight in there. The difference is I'm not really trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to injure you. We're going to hurt each other to some extent. You know, a chop hurts, right? I'm not trying to, there's no intent to injure you or harm you, but it should feel when that's over like you're in a fight. And man, that guy, I thought he was going to take my head off, but he didn't. I remember the first time I was training with Frank Mir, and we were kind of like cross training. So I was training with him in MMA. I trained with him, and then I was teaching him some pro wrestling because he expressed some interest. I said, "Hey, man, like you and Brock would be a match that I'm sure if you really wanted to see this through would be a money match. I'm sure Vince would be interested in that, right?" Yep. So we were in Vegas, and we were just in the ring, and I was teaching him some basic stuff. And so I showed him a forearm. And so I grabbed him here and I came in like, boom. And he was like, holy shit, man. He's like, oh, he's like, okay. He's like, I need to apologize. He's like, I thought that this was all like camera stuff where like you were missing or not making contact or like, he's like, you could have knocked me out if you would have hit me with that forearm and followed through with your, because he understands body mechanics, right? He understands when you would throw a real forearm, what your body mechanics do, right? What your hips are doing. He's like, you could have knocked me out. He's like, but you pulled it like in a way. He's like, and it freaked him out because he was just like, I didn't understand exactly how this worked. He's like, I just have so much more respect for what you guys do because like, you're not like missing each other. Like you're doing it with a technique where if you decided you wanted to hit me with that and actually put the force and follow through, he's like, that would have fucking knocked me out. And so, but that is the intensity, man. Like that's what makes good pro wrestling. If you're just going through the motions to do the move, to me, there's nothing there, man. We have skewed into all motion, no emotion. Right.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that we need to go back to the 80s where it was all emotion and little motion. But I think that window we had in that early to mid 2000s is we married the two together. We started giving more complex spots, more athleticism, but we didn't completely get rid of the emotion or the intensity or like the struggle.
Yeah.
And now it's skewed this direction where things don't have to make sense. I just put a hypodermic needle in your cheek just because. Just for the shock and awe factor, not because it makes any logical sense why I'd bring a hypodermic needle to a fight, unless I put like a tranquilizer in there or the COVID vaccine. I was trying to give you myocarditis. Then maybe at least then maybe I'd have a reason I could say, well, I was trying to give this guy heart problems with right? Making a joke, guys. Relax. Mm-hmm. My point is we've completely taken logic and that suspension of disbelief and kind of punted it away in a lot of ways, anyway.
Yeah. Talking about those guys who, like you mentioned, with the Alex Shelley's and AJ Styles and Jay Lethal, I put them in a class, and you as well, as like, I could watch them wrestle a broom and I could believe that they were either winning or losing. And like, to me, that means like, that's a different level of like being a performer, and
the cool thing is now is they probably did that somewhere WrestleMania weekend. Someone probably did, and everyone acted like it was real. Yeah. Or the Invisible Man, right? Oh yeah, hey, look, the Invisible Man.
I was just gonna say that. I'm surprised.
Yeah, let's just take the piss out of all of it. Like I wrestled a leaf once in training.
Yeah.
A leaf fell from. We were outside. The ring was set outside, and a leaf fell from the tree and hit my shoulder. And I started a fight with it. I started a match with the leaf.
Yeah.
I would never think to do that in front of people. Sure. But again, once Kenny Omega wrestled the blow up doll and became one of the biggest stars in wrestling, it is what it is, right?
I was gonna say the Invisible Man, that's a real thing on shows now, and I'm surprised the broom doesn't get more work. It's awful, man. I can't do that stuff, and it's just not for me. We had a thing. Well, I'll just say there was a promotion down here called Hood Slam. I don't know if you're familiar with that. They get a big audience, but they do a bunch of crazy stuff, and good for them. Not my style. I am kind of old school with just the way I was trained. But anyways, I digress. Let's talk about as we get close here to our closing segment of Word Up. I got a whole new list of names for you on Word Up. But before that, I just wanted to ask you about some of the fun and fond memories you've been having in MLW lately, and what are your goals in MLW?
Well, we just announced that the Fusion coming back Saturday night 6:05. Free on the MLW YouTube channel or in BN Sports if you get that cable channel. So that's gonna be cool for them to be bringing back a weekly show. A lot of these shows, we've been filming over the last 6 months or so. So I'm excited for some of those matches to finally air and people to see the stuff I've been doing. Spoiler, but I am the MLW openweight champion. That hasn't aired yet, so if sorry if I spoiled that for you.
Exclusive.
Exclusive, right? So with that, I really want to take that, and I kind of jokingly said, well, not jokingly, I said in one of my promos there that the reason it's the national openweight championship is because nobody before me was a big enough star to be flown internationally to defend it, right? And so I'm going to change that, and I want to take that around the world, and I've got some shows lined up here and some other, the wee parts of Canada and Germany and other places, going back down to Mexico, hopefully sometime soon. I'm enjoying the process of MLW. I think timing's everything, and I think it was an opportunity for me at a time where I was just in a really good place, in my personal life, but then also like where I sit professionally. And I've been given a lot of trust into just letting me do what I do, and they trust
Yep.
me to just, I think, they, I've been told like we like you because we can just give it to you and we don't have to worry about it. We know that you're going to, I don't have to run my promos by them. I don't have to, I have the basic concept of what they need, and then they just let me go to work and do my thing. And as an artist, you know, that's nice to just say, hey, this is the picture we need to paint. I don't need to I don't need to be over your shoulders and be, telling you how to paint it or what colors to use, or, just let you do your thing. And so, just continue to help that brand kind of in the resurgence. We got a great talent roster right now, a lot of names that, mainstream wrestling fans would be familiar with the Matt Riddles and the Killer Crosses, and myself and the Good Brothers and Donovan Dijak, and so good relationships with CMLL. We just announced relationship with Stardom, so we're getting a nice mix, a little something for everybody. You like lucha style, you like the Josie, women's wrestling, you like tag wrestling. We got a great tag division. We got, the junior or the middleweight division. So you're getting, that kind of style. We got great heavyweights and big men. So it's just a great mix, and it's a good locker room, and it's just been really enjoyable. And I feel like, you know, the parts of wrestling I enjoy, I'm getting to do, and the parts I don't enjoy so much, I'm not bothered with. Right? Like there's not a lot of politics. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of backstabbing. We're all just kind of working together, doing our thing, staying in our lanes, helping each other where we can, rooting each other on. And so yeah, it's been fun. And so, we got 3 shows coming up here in June in the old ECW Arena in New York. It's a triple shot. I think it's a Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so looking forward to that. And it's been a good ride.
Awesome, man. I'll definitely be checking out MLW Fusion on the YouTube channel. Encourage all you watching here to do as well. And without any further ado, we are going to get into our closing segment here. Here's the edit point, Danny. Welcome to the second ever edition of Word Up with the returning Austin Aries. Now, Austin, what I'm going to do is I got a list of names here for you, and just give me a brief, couple words, maybe a sentence or two, your immediate thoughts on these names. They're going to be talent in the wrestling world from all over. Are you ready?
Oh boy.
Here we go. Here we go. First name on the list, Kazarian.
Kazarian. Oh man. It's like Antonio Banderas of wrestling, right? That guy's ageless. He looks great, and it's great to see him still, performing at a high level. And he looks amazing, and I'm a big fan of Frankie.
Loves the cigar.
Loves the cigar. Yeah.
Jeff Hardy.
Jeff Hardy, man, just unique, right? And seemingly indestructible. I really enjoy Jeff. Great conversations, a lot of fun every time we got to step in the ring. And yeah, just he's a 1-on-1.
Bully Ray.
Bully Ray, opinionated, he's strong in his convictions, whether you agree with him or disagree with him. And I appreciate someone who's willing to speak their mind and not back from that. And hey man, the guy knows how to stay relevant and to stay in the spotlight. He's a true worker.
Kid Cash.
Kid Cash. I like Kid Cash. I don't know that he likes me too much, but I always respected Cash's work, and actually going back and seeing some of his stuff back in the day, man. What a phenomenal athlete, and again, intense. Guy's intense. He's all man right there.
Rob Van Dam.
The whole effing show, right? Yeah. Hey, light one up for Rob Van Dam. Yeah, guy, he's a high flyer.
That's right. I have a couple of your old tag partners here, starting with Roderick Strong.
Oh, chops, man, chops. Yeah, I miss Roddy, man. Like we were talking about, getting together and catching up, and we just, schedules haven't crossed paths. But man, super happy for Roddy, man. He's just a good dude. And a hell of a mustache. Who would have known?
Alex Shelley.
Alex Shelley. Man, like technician, and a good punk singer, right? Good musician. I think their band just dropped their latest album, him and Chris Sabin. So yeah, I've known Alex for a long time, and just been cool to see the progression, not just in his professional life, but his private life and everything he's doing outside the ring too.
And the fourth member of Generation Next, Jack Evans.
Man, the human Gumby doll. That guy's like, okay, I said Jeff Hardy's indestructible. No. Jack Evans is the most indestructible wrestler of all time, in my opinion. Maybe outside of Mick Foley.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to flip the order here. What is another guy in that same category? This Darby Allin.
Darby Allin. I mean, just crazy. Like guy's insane.
Completely.
Yeah.
MJF.
MJF. Boy, what sentence can I put to MJF? You got me, man. I don't know. I mean, he's a throwback in a lot of ways, right? A little bit of Roddy Piper, and he someone, again, we talk about guys who don't take this seriously. There's someone who takes this seriously, and I think respects the history of wrestling, and what he does today reflects that. Yeah, hell of a talent, man. Talent.
MLW alumni, and man, I would have loved to see a program with you two on the mic and in the ring. Be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
agree. 100% agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Maybe. I guess we just need Tony Khan to agree.
The Tribal Chief Roman Reigns.
Man, well, I mean, what can you say? Workhorse. People don't understand the work it takes to be put in that position, like what is being asked of you, and to be able to do that for as long as he's done it. Again, John Cena was the same way. He kind of was the guy who followed. It's not easy, and you have whether you like his wrestling or not, or you have to respect that to be able to perform at that level for that long with that expectation placed upon you from a global company. Not anyone can do that, right? A lot of people would crumble to that pressure, and he's always risen to the occasion. Yeah, he's a pro's pro, right?
Yep, most main events in WrestleMania history, I believe. Most WrestleMania main events, crazy. His cousins, the Usos.
Usos. Just think about them early on, right? So like how different they are now from where they were brought in. And again, longevity. You can't longevity is something that you have to respect. And then when people are able to take on different personas over time, and be completely different than they were, and then find success as singles and really, become the backbone of storylines, so it's very impressive.
Yeah, Jacob Fatu.
Oh man, that guy's incredible, right? Like everything you want in a pro wrestler. He always had all the ingredients, and it's nice for him to finally get the opportunity to bring that to a world stage.
Absolutely. Down to the final four.
Okay.
Final four. All right. It's a good collaboration here, or mix of talent. We're going to start with Cody Rhodes.
Fuck that guy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, dude, I was like, I can't wait to hear this story.
Yeah, no. We should do another one of these right after this with all the same names, but then instead of me being positive, I'll bury all of them. I just realized, like, oh, I'm baby facing everybody. I'm not saying anything mean about anyone, right? Like, and so I'm not and like we all know no one's gonna pick up these clips if I'm like, oh yeah, MJF, like, man, he's really good. But if I was like, man, fuck MJF, right? Like, and his hair, right? Like, then people would pick up that clip and then it would get some publicity. But here I'm doing the baby face thing and I'm trying to spin everyone in a positive light. Give me 1 second here because I realize it's getting a little dark in here.
Yeah. I was just about to say, if you're going to bury people with like the light off and it's just over half your face, that's a pretty cool shot, you know?
Yeah, man. So I was like, man, I need to. So that's why it's Cody Rhodes. I was like, all right, I'm going to bury this guy. But then it's like, well, Cody, I decided that before you said the name, then you're Cody Rhodes. I'm like, well, I like Cody, right? Hey, man, he's the grandson of a plumber, you know? Like, I mean,
Right.
again, let's just talk about like, and again, it makes sense because he was like, he grew up around the business, but a guy who bet on himself and obviously like take all the stuff in the ring aside, how he understands the business of pro wrestling and how to put himself in the positions that he's done to get where he is. You got to applaud that for sure.
Killer Cross.
Man, you know, I've always got along really well with him. And again, another guy that, you know, there's not a ton of guys in the wrestling industry that if you took wrestling completely out of the conversation, you'd want to sit down and talk to for an hour about things that had nothing to do with wrestling. But he's a guy that I've always enjoyed just having conversations with. Again, smart dude, bet on himself, and you know, and he's now, you know, he's being successful at what he does. And man, the guy can snap like 2 bats or whatever, and it was, you know, his arm bar or whatever. So that's kind of crazy.
You think you can convert him to being a fruitivore?
No.
Okay, final 2 names. These guys couldn't be more different from each other. Legends, starting with Rey Mysterio.
You're a legend, right? I mean, probably the most influential at the end of the day, going to go down as, you know, probably the biggest, you know, luchador on a global scale. And then again, the fact that this guy's still doing this, like
at the level he's doing
like
it.
his style.
Yeah.
This is like some big lumbering guy that could just get away with a punch and a kick. Like, again, it's just amazing. It's funny. So real quick, and I'm not trying to derail this, but I actually wrestled in I think it was a 8-man tag match with Rey Mysterio in Chicago for a show called Warrior Wrestling many years ago. So I was on Rey's team, and you know, you got 8 guys, so everyone's trying to like get their shit in and call their spots. And all I cared about was figuring out how I was going to take the 619, even though I was on his team. That was the only psychology I was trying to bake into the match. How do I make this work? And so I came up with the idea. So basically, I cut the promo before the match saying, all right, guys, listen, I'm the team captain here. All right, I'm a world champion. I got Rey Mysterio on my team. I'm the team captain. I'm the biggest star on our team, right? So I was like, I'm going to be the heel on a team of baby faces. Basically, I'm still going to be a heel. And so multiple times in the match, he had the guy set up for the 619. And then when he hit the ropes, I tagged myself in and took it away. Get out. All right, get out of here. I'll take it from here. I'm the captain. You listen to me. Right. So then finally he gets the hot tag happens. And somehow I ended up in position, and Ray just kind of looks to the crowd, and they're all like, "You got to do it." He goes, "It," and he runs, and he hit me with it, and it was like, again, that's my satisfaction. Like, that to me, that's what lights me up with pro wrestling. To be that guy who then gets that and gives the fans that moment of joy. Anyway, yeah. So Ray's a legend, and man, I hope I'm able to work at half the level he's working if I decide to still do it at his age.
I'm going to throw a bonus in here. It's one of Danny's favorites, Rey Mysterio's son, Dominic.
Dominic. Who would have thought that chubby little kid, right? But again, a guy that's obviously he was given opportunity, but just because you're given an opportunity or just because you're related to somebody doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So a lot of times it's even more pressure to actually go out there and perform. So, and I think the crazy thing is like, he's not his dad. Like he could obviously like they're completely two opposite wrestlers in what they present, and he's really good at what he does. And again, another hell of a mustache.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, we are at the final name on the list. A lot of people put this guy on their Mount Rushmore, say he is the greatest pro wrestler of all time. You've been in the ring with this man, Austin Aries. You haven't wrestled him, but you had an incredible promo with him, which I'm sure that was quite the moment.
Yeah.
He just had a Netflix documentary come out on him. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. We're talking about the immortal Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, man. And I actually became friends with him, during that time period. We only lived like maybe 10 minutes away in Clearwater Beach. And I actually been to his house multiple times and hung out with him outside of wrestling and got to know him a little bit as much as you can. To me, and I was just asked this on another podcast I did, like, who's the greatest wrestler of all time? And I said, well, if we're not talking about work rate, but we're talking about like the biggest, like, I don't know how you can argue against him. And I get it. Some guys like the Meltzers, they want to be contrarian because they want to be seen as smart and like, historian of wrestling, so they can't say this. But like, how many wrestlers could you just give a silhouette of? And globally, people would know exactly what that was, right? You put the handlebar mustache and the red and the yellow, you know who that is. And like, so all the success that the wrestlers have had after him is attributed to the fact that he was able to break through globally into movies, into these things, and like transcend pro wrestling into pop culture. And I think, and this happens to me to a much smaller degree. But when certain parts of society decide that they don't like you for whatever reason, or you're a bad person, or they want to hold, things that you maybe have done when not at your highest, we all make mistakes. We all say dumb shit. We all do dumb shit. This happens. When they decide that they collectively in that echo chamber that you're a bad person or they don't like you, then they start trying to discredit how good you were or the impact you had on the industry. They don't, right? And that's not fair. And so whatever you think about Hulk because of his politics or whatever it might be, like, to discount the impact that this guy's had for everyone moving forward. This guy not only was the biggest babyface of all time in his peak, he was also the biggest heel of his time in his peak. How many people can say that? Right. And to have two runs to be like the forefront of two of the biggest booms of pro wrestling over a 20-year career. I mean, it's I don't even know what we're talking about. Like, I don't even know what we're debating here. But I get it. If you didn't grow up with it and you didn't see it happen in real time, it's easy to not understand. I grew up during that. And so I saw it firsthand. And I wasn't a Hulkamaniac. I didn't like WWF wasn't my cup of tea as far as wrestling goes. But you can't argue that he wasn't and still isn't the biggest, most recognizable name in professional wrestling history. So, and again, on an aside, I got to know him on a personal level. And, it's easy to start to label people and paint them with a broad brush when you've never actually sat and broke bread with them and had a conversation, or you don't know their upbringing, you don't know their background, you don't know, the things that have shaped their perceptions. But and I think this is something that people should think about, and they probably can't really comprehend. But to be the level of famous that Hulk Hogan was, and then to be able to make friends, like authentic friends that you can trust, don't have an angle or aren't trying to use you for some ends for themselves. So, for him to invite me to his house, like I didn't discount, like, how meaningful that was, that he was allowing me into a space, because it can't be easy when you're at that level of fame to be able to let people in and trust that they're not looking to take advantage of you in one way, shape, or form. So he was always good to me. I learned a lot from him. And again, to be able to do what he did at the level he did it for as long as he did, most men would crumble under that pressure and that expectation.
And that has been another edition of Word Up, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, man. And thank you so much again for your time, Austin Aries, coming on here, man. What a great podcast. And of course, we really look forward to having you on again one day. Hopefully, we don't wait 7 or 8 months. We'll have you on. Man, it's great to talk to you, man. Danny, did you have anything else for Austin Aries today?
No, I enjoy hearing all the personal insights you share with like the story, you know, about Hulk Hogan, the match with Rey Mysterio that like that only people can experience if you were there. Like that's such a cool moment. I can almost feel like I'm enjoying it through listening to your stories about it. So like I don't know. I try to keep like you know, like professional and you know like I'm part of this, but then like when you start telling stories like that, I'm a fan. I'm just like, yeah, and then you did it, yeah, cool, yeah. So I always appreciate like other interviews you do, but like sitting here listening to this, it's incredible. So thank you for being here and thank you for sharing.
Well, let me say this too, like you guys are good hosts, you know, and I, you know, obviously I get asked to do a lot of podcasts, and I do a lot of them, but like I enjoy your guys' podcast. We're able to have like it feels like we're just kind of guys hanging out having a conversation, but you guys you're asking insightful questions. We're able to talk about things outside of wrestling in real life, which for me like then helps me like to want to actually talk about wrestling too, you know, and it's not the same kind of 12 questions I've answered 1,000 times at this point. So thanks for being good hosts, and yeah, we'll do part 3 down the road for sure.
Absolutely. And
awesome.
I wanted to point out, I didn't know we were going to talk about mustaches so much, but I've got one right here on my t-shirt.
I can't see it because your name is in front of it.
Oh, is it? Here,
yeah.
Let me.
Yeah.
So the mustache.
Whose is that?
This is my logo.
Oh, that's your logo. Okay.
Yeah. So
nice.
Through on my Twitch channel.
Your coat of arms.
Yeah. So one of my people in the community, they designed this because we were talking about one day about doing teaching classes and like teaching how to like be a thirst trap. And then we play video games, and because I was in the Marines, you know, Marines eat crayons. And and then one of the jokes was we should give out mustache rides on Groupon, so you can get a free mustache. And then somebody took all of our inside jokes and made a logo T-shirt. So
I think there was an independent wrestler who's no longer wrestling, maybe from your area, that might have been doing that mustache ride on Groupon thing.
Yeah,
didn't work out too well, unfortunately.
It's for charity, so that's all I'm saying. You know, it's for a good.
I think that was his line too. Yeah,
mustache rides for a good cause. You know what I'm saying?
Mitch knows where I'm going. Mitch knew exactly where I was going with that one, right? Yeah.
Oh man, Danny's been talking about you nonstop for the last 8 months, so I'm glad that we're able to again get you on, and now I'll be hearing about this for the next little while. But no, I just want to thank you, Austin. Again, I want to thank Danny. I want to thank everybody out there that watched the podcast, y'all. You know, this is available at youtube.com/@GotMitchOnline. Make sure you do all the likes and comments and all that, and of course the shares and the subscriptions. I'm at Got Mitch Online on Instagram and X. And of course, Danny, why don't you hit him with that Twitch plug, everything you got going on with your mustache rides on Groupon and everything else?
Yeah, it's twitch.tv/VOP Gaming. I'm VOP Gaming on every social media. I just don't use it much, you know, like I'm very bad at it. You know, I have that old man mentality of like, who cares? Why am I going to post on Instagram of like what I'm eating for lunch, or, you know, like who cares what I think about whatever on X? So I'm very, very bad at it, but I'm VOP Gaming everywhere. Just like I learned from Mitch, I'm VOP Gaming on all platforms.
Yeah.
Austin Aries, go ahead. The floor is yours, man. Anything you want to plug or share?
I mean, I'm with you, Danny, man. I mean, I'm not on my social media much. I guess I should be because I got a lot of followers and a check mark and all that, but I just don't care enough. But if I do like repost wrestling stuff and things I'm collabed on, and that's Austin Aries on Instagram or at Austin Aries on X. Don't expect to see me posting my latest meal plan or something. But you can follow me there. I will when the time is right, I will drop announcements for my Hungry to Change program. Should be in the next 60 to 90 days. So do keep an eye out for that if that's something you're interested in.
Look forward to that. Look forward to the program. Look forward to hopefully getting you out here in Northern California one day, and look forward to having you back on the podcast. Thank you, Austin Aries. Thank you, Danny. It's all love.